Well, there's your problem. That's supposed to be tight. Hey, welcome back everyone. You're watching Centerline Designs. My name's Cole, and we're finally getting to that major repair that I was talking about in the previous video on this Swinger 3000 wheel loader. If you haven't heard of a Swinger 3000 wheel loader, you're not the only one. I hadn't heard of it, and no one I knew had either. There's not a lot of information out on these machines, and the company is not in business anymore. It's always kind of a risk when you're buying a piece of equipment whose company has gone out of business. However, the reason I wanted this machine is because when I found out it was made with off-the-shelf brand name components, I knew that all the major things like axles, hydraulic pumps, motors, the diesel engine are not going to be hard to get parts for. So it's got a 4.5 liter PowerTech John Deere diesel motor. It has an Eaton hydraulic pump and motor, so it's a hydrostatic drive vehicle. It's pretty nice. It's got Dana 80 axles, front and rear, 11,000 pound rated. So I knew any kind of seals filters is not going to be that hard to get in the future. However, there were some major problems with this machine. If you want to see more about it, go check out the previous video I did on this where I told you the story of buying it because it didn't go smoothly, and well, it took a little bit. I guess it did go smoothly. It just took a little bit. But there's some major problems. So that video will be in the link in the description below. But today we have to repair the upper and lower main pivot bearings. They are completely shot. The front half of the machine moves like 1.5 inches front and rear. I'll show you that before we go taking it apart. And I wasn't able to buy the exact replacement, so I found a bearing I believe will work. It's similar to what's there. It's not going to be quite what you think, but we're going to take these plates out, do some machining, welding, maybe do some re-engineering. I don't know what we're going to get into. I can't fully picture everything down in there until we get it out. So it's actually using spherical bearings and not like a bronze bushing that you would expect. And I'll discuss that more in the future here, but let's go ahead. I will show you how badly these are worn, and then we're going to get the machine stabilized, jacked up, and we're gonna start taking some things apart. I'm not sure if that came through on the camera as much, but in person, it looks like a lot of play. So let's get to work. There's been some funky things going on. There shouldn't be welds here. There definitely shouldn't be weld trying to go to the ball of the spherical bearing. This has had some kind of repair done to it, and it's a bit ugly. So top one doesn't look as bad. We're gonna have some hoses to contend with, but should be pretty good. All right, as always, that took longer than I thought, but we went ahead and I supported the front and back half in 4 locations each. I just want to make sure this thing doesn't tip or something happens. I mean, it's a 10,000 pound machine, which isn't huge, but it's big for me. So I'd rather be safe than sorry, but we're finally at time to start taking this stuff apart. Okay, this hydraulic block is in the way. Well, I guess bigger toys means I'm gonna have to invest in some bigger wrenches and sockets, because none of my stuff goes this big. Okay. That bolt is not coming out, so it is going to require the drive shaft to come out. Got the drive shaft out of the way. Again, see, this is why I like fabricating and not wrenching. It's gross. This bolt should have come right out, but because it's all mangled and bent and jamming up, we're gonna get that bottle jack under there and pop it right out. Oh, yeah, that's why it didn't want to come out. Oh boy, yeah, that's why it should have been tight. See, I told you this thing could snap right in half. See, I wasn't joking when I said that this thing could right snap in half. This bolt was not tightened down. This is the replacement spherical bearing, and that bolt should have had the two double shear flanges, or the two flanges clamped down on the ball tight so that all the movement happened between the ball and the outer race. And I think what happened for a long time is these weren't checked or they were loose. I also seen they tried welding the ball, which doesn't make any sense because then this becomes a pin, and this isn't meant to be a pin. It's meant to clamp on the ball. Why they went this route, I don't know. It's not too big a deal. I think they'll last. They probably do wear faster than a traditional pin and bushing, but I'm not gonna go that far into re-engineering this. We're just gonna make these ones work. See? That's how it's supposed to come out. So I was gonna go ahead and pull the other steering cylinder off, but I think we're gonna be able to use that steering cylinder to help us out in separating the machine. We'll block this side and we'll turn and extend the opposite side cylinder, and that should split the two halves. It's official. That tractor is in two pieces. The only thing connected are some hydraulic lines.
we finally got both of them out. Oh, I really wasn't expecting it to be that hard, but oh well. As you can see, it's essentially a really large spherical bearing, and I could not find one that size. So I got a much smaller, it's a 1-inch ID still. And looking at it, it looks kind of goofy, but. This was that bottom one, and it is absolutely shot. Like, I don't know what they were doing. They put weld down to the inner race to the outer race. The inner race to the outer race, they tried welding a couple times, put weld on the bottom. I mean, the shims make sense, but I don't think that was factory, and then they even put weld there. I don't know. But I want to try and reuse these plates, bore it out, make a bushing, and go in with these new ones. Let's go ahead, get these cleaned up a little, and then I can get cleaned up. And we'll switch gears into machining. Okay, well, with these parts degreased a little bit, I went ahead, did a wardrobe change myself, and here is the top one. It actually looks really good. It looks better than I thought. There is some play in the ball and socket, or the inner and outer race, and I think I'm gonna install this in the bottom. I was thinking about it, and I don't think the top and bottom bearings see the same forces. That bottom one is closer in line with the bucket, and I think when you're ramming and hitting things, or just, you know, normal wear and tear, I think the bottom bearing takes a lot more abuse. So I don't think I'm gonna change this one. Obviously the ones I bought, I couldn't see the size of this outer race. The ones I bought are much, much smaller on the OD, and although these are rated pretty high on strength, I think the larger ball and outer race has more surface area, and that means less PSI on the bearing itself, which should make it last longer. Being that this top one didn't wear that much, I think I'm gonna be able to go ahead and use these ones I purchased on the top, which basically means we're gonna take this bottom assembly that is just absolute garbage. It wore through the bolt because they decided to weld the inner race and the outer race together and make a bolt become a pin for some reason, which I just don't understand. Doesn't make sense to me, but I think what we can do is go ahead, we'll carve out the weld on both sides, knock this old bearing out in its entirety, and then we'll make up a bushing. We'll weld the bushing into this plate because I don't really want to remake this, and then we will bore it out and install this bearing, and after it's all welded in, this whole assembly will go back in the top. Pretty sure that's gonna work. We're gonna get this cleaned up, and then we'll chuck everything up in the lathe. This doesn't need to be bang on, I just want to get it fairly close. Okay, so we're about 0 there.
and almost a full 1/8 this way. And it looks like that as well. Okay, side to sides within a few thou. Let's do the other one. Okay, we got this roughly chucked in. It's pretty hard. This is like a plasma cut or flame cut outer edge, and it's not consistent. So it's good enough. We're gonna come in, we're gonna carve out this weld, and then we're gonna have to re-chuck all this again and carve out the other side. I'm gonna be using a button insert to start carving out this weld, at least, because the round inserts take an interrupted cut a little bit better. There we are.
Okay, well, I was lucky enough to find a piece of stock on my bench here that is virtually the right size. We're just gonna go ahead, clean up the outer surface of this. We'll cut it down in the bandsaw to close to the right thickness, and we'll face it off and get this thing welded in. Then we gotta bore the hole for the new bearing.
Alrighty, well, we gotta go ahead and weld this in fully, both sides. That bandsaw cut was absolutely horrible, but it doesn't really matter because the thinnest spot is still thicker than I need, so we'll go ahead and put that face on it once we're done. All right, we're gonna shim this up and bust that welder out. Well, with that fully welded, we're gonna let it cool down and then we'll chuck it up in the lathe, face off both sides, and bore the hole out for the new bearing.
Well, that bushing's cooling down. Let's go ahead and get some of this grease out of here. I hate grease.
All right, well, as you can see, there's been some damage to this machine and it's been fixed in the past, but not fixed very well. We're gonna go ahead and tomorrow I'll be replacing that upper bracket piece on the lower mount. We'll make a whole brand new one. And then I'll be doing this machining tomorrow. It's still really hot. It's getting closer to dinner time, so I'm gonna call it a day. We'll pick this back up tomorrow. For you, it'll only be a second. And yeah, I gotta go get cleaned up. We'll see you tomorrow. Well, I hate to do this to you folks. I really wanted to show all of this in one video, but the job, as always, is bigger than expected. And I'm just gonna have to break it up for several reasons. Ease of editing. I don't think anyone wants to watch a 2-hour-long video, so we're gonna make this just 2 parts. I figured this is a good point to split the video. We'll get back in the shop, we'll do that machining, weld the bearing in. We have to make that whole new lower plate and then put it all back together and check it out. So yeah, as much as I like single videos, it's not gonna happen in this one. I really appreciate everyone. There is gonna be a full playlist on this loader as we have many other repairs to come on it. This was just the major one I wanted to get tackled. And as
you know, as I probably mentioned on other videos, there's a playlist for this custom snowcat build. It's really cool. If you haven't seen it, check it out. I appreciate all the support on the channel. Thank you so much, everyone. Stay tuned. The second part to this loader repair video won't take too long to come out. So thank you. Cheers.